You want to tell your own stories, but you're finding out that script writing and storyboarding software is really expensive. Sure, you can try Google Docs for your scripts, but that's clunky. Makes you feel junky. And sure, you can do your storyboards in Photoshop, but who has an extra $53 a month for yet another subscription? Photoshop around. You need the Coconut Justice Guide to Spending $10 on software for writing scripts and storyboarding. Psst. The video is free, and so is subscribing. And what if you weren't in your office, but you needed to stay productive? Coconut Justice has found a solution, and it'll only cost you a thumbs up. I'll tell you all about it, but first...
And welcome back. I wrote a short film that has something to do with my YouTube famous rap song, and I decided it would be a great learning experience to make a story out of the process of making that rap song and eventually making an animated music video. I'm bringing together an amazing group of friends that I have convinced to coach me through different sections, and I will leave a link to the original video right there. When you're writing stories for film, TV, or even YouTube, the process begins about the same way for me every time. I open a regular old notebook and I just start scribbling down a bunch of ideas. I don't worry about punctuation, I don't worry about sentence structures, and sometimes I'll even go through and I'll draw the scenes that I might have in my head. Once I get a bunch of ideas down, I refine them and I rework them and I just move things into different positions just to see how I can, it depends on what I'm doing. If it's a joke or if it's a comedy, I try to punch up the jokes. If it's a drama, I try to throw a little extra oomph in there for our protagonist. And then once I feel comfortable with all of those ideas and refining the process of the story, what I end up doing is heading over to the computer, or in this case, the iPad. Now, just to let you guys know, I have a 2018 iPad Pro 11-inch. I have an old Apple keyboard and the holder, and that's how old it is. I have to clamp it together so it actually holds itself together. And now that we are moving our ideas over to the iPad, if you're interested, go to the Apple App Stores and do a search for Final Draft. Final Draft is a script writing software that on the computer, it would cost probably about, I think it's $200 to $250. But if you do the search on the Apple App Store or even Google Play Store, you can find Final Draft for all of the devices. That's because Final Draft has been around for kind of forever. It's the industry standard for writing scripts. The cool thing about Final Draft Mobile is it's only $10 and it actually gives you a lot of the power that the original desktop version gives you. So this is the only money that we're going to spend, and now that we're spending money, I have to tell you guys that this is not a paid endorsement. I just found this process to work and it's super affordable, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. One of the cool things that you can do while working with Final Draft is you can save it to iCloud or whatever cloud services you might have, and then you can access it from your different devices. So I'm able to create a script on my iPad, and let's say maybe I'm at the DMV or standing in line somewhere, I can then use my phone to access the same script and then be able to make edits on my phone. Okay, so once we open Final Draft, what I'm going to do is go into the Final Draft folder and then hit Create Document. And here on the right, you can see all of the different script types. I'm gonna do a screenplay. Let's go ahead and name it. And now we see it automatically opens. And before we get too into it, let's go ahead and hit that wrench at the top right. Now what I want to do is take a look at the title page. Go ahead and name your script. This one we're going to name the Coconut Justice Script Test. Okay, And here we're going to add my name. And if it's based on a true story or whatever, that's where you would enter that information right there. And you can add your address and phone number at the bottom of this, but we're done, so I hit done. And then to get started, I'm going to hit tab twice, and we're going to go ahead and fade in. And here we can set up our different locations. And to do that, all I'm going to do is type int period Carlos's studio. And then it's afternoon time, and now this is where I can begin to tell my story. To start writing dialogue, I hit tab once, and then I write the character's name. Let's go with Carlos. To create another character, what I'm going to do is just write the character's name. So maybe I'm interacting with my camera. What does my camera have to say? Sorry, dude, I'm on vacation. And then if we hit tab again, we see the list of characters, and on the right hand side we can see if it's voiceover, off scene, off camera, whatever the case may be. And similar to characters, to create a new location, what I'm going to do is type int and then cafe, and during the day. Now let's pretend that we have our scripts done. Let's go ahead and go into storyboards. And I know that there are a lot of really good storyboarding software out there, but Storyboarder is the one that we're going to be taking a look at now, and it's open source. And open source is basically geek talk for free. Okay, so once we launch Storyboarder, we're here at the welcome screen. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is click create new storyboards, and here you see that you can either import a script or you can just start a new blank storyboard. So let's do that one. Here you can select your aspect ratio. I'm going to go with 16:9 just because that's the standard HD aspect ratio. Now it's going to ask me to save it somewhere. Let's do a test and hit create. Okay, so a quick overview of what we see here. Top left, we have all of our tools, all of the different drawing utensils and eraser. We have our colors, so if I was using the pencil, I can use the light blue, and if you click on it, you can change the color that you're using. The trash can is just in case you want to clear the canvas. The moving tools, if you have a stroke and you want to move it, you can use that. And that's a resize right there. On the top right hand side, we see that there are a bunch of guide tools. Going down the right hand side, you see where you are as far as in the project. You get all of these notes for the certain boards that you're on. You can set here the duration of the shots that you want to have up there. And here you can record the dialogue, the action, and any notes that you might have. You can even drop in some audio if you would like. Now the shot generator is actually a really cool thing. If you're a director or even a director of photography, you always have to keep in mind where the camera is going to be and how you can move the camera to really benefit the story that you're trying to tell. Sometimes you might just need a little, I don't know, a little hint or a little push in a direction. And that's what this shot generator can do. If we click on that, you see here, we're able to really get in here and, you know, we can add a character, we can have them posing here. I don't know, maybe this guy is like leaning up against a bar or something. And then when you click on insert as a new board, and here you can see that this is the first frame that we had already set up, and then we have our other shot generated board in there. But we're not going to need that, so I'm just going to click on that board and hit delete, and now it's empty. So there's this little pop-up menu that happens when you go to the boards down here at the bottom. So I'm going to click on that and just wait a second, and you see all of the shortcuts. So if you wanted to add a new board, you'd hit N. If you wanted to duplicate the board that you're working on, you'd hit D. To copy one, Command C. To paste, Command V. Import, Command I. To delete, you're going to hit Command and delete. So there goes that frame. If we wanted to create a new one, you saw there the shortcut, just hit N. And just to be completely thorough, down at the bottom, if we had a bunch of boards in a scene or a shot, we're able to add them down there. Okay, we have a bunch of unnecessary frames, so I'm just going to click and then scroll to the end, hit Shift and click again, hit Command Delete. Now we got rid of all of those frames that we weren't using. But now I'm going to put on my trusty glove and grab my stylus. I'm going to come in here and maybe we're looking at a guy who is a medium shot. One of the things that you're going to realize when you start drawing in Storyboarder is even though the brushes are available, you're probably already going to be used to using brushes from, say, either Photoshop or Procreate or even Sketchbook Pro. So what we can do is under Storyboarder, go to Preferences, under External PSD Editor, mine says Sketchbook App. However, if you wanted to have that be Photoshop, you would click there and go to your applications and find Photoshop. But I have it set to Sketchbook. Why Sketchbook? Couple different reasons. One, Sketchbook has wonderful pencil and brush tools. Not just that, but they have perspective guides that are, in my opinion, they're probably the best out there. Now that I have my external PSD editor set to Sketchbook, if I needed to do any artistic changes to this frame and I wanted to do it in a more finalized version or something with better brushes, what I'm going to do is hit Command and the period key, and that's going to open that board in Sketchbook. So now, if you take a look at all of the layers, there's a reference layer, there's a background layer, there's tones, pencils, inks. So within Storyboarder, depending on the tool that you use, that's the tool that's going to draw on that layer. And now we can actually come here. So now what I'm going to do is just hit save, and I can even close that window. And then when I go over to Storyboarder, you see that that board has been updated. So now I can come in here and create a new board. We don't really see any onion skinning, but if you hit O, you can see what's on the previous frame. So then that way, if I did want to come here and say maybe this guy is making his way across the room, I can just use that as a guide. And now the good news about Sketchbook. If you go to sketchbook.com, what it's going to do is it's going to show you how to download Sketchbook from Autodesk. You might recognize the name Autodesk. That's because they make 3D Studio Max and Maya. Those are 3D art packages that are the industry standard for both movies and video games. All we have to do is go to sketchbook.com and sign up, and then you get the free download. And the cool thing about Sketchbook is not only does it run on both Mac and Windows, but you can also get those for your devices, whether it's an iPad or a Surface or whatever device you have. Android devices, they make it for that. And this is where that becomes very powerful. If we come over to File, Print Storyboarder Worksheet, what we get is this worksheet creation window, and here we can set different column numbers. We can adjust the column rows. Usually I like to do about a 4x3 or a 4x4, but let's just do 4x3. So now what I'm going to do is just export the PDF. And now that I have that PDF and I have it open in preview, what I can do is a file, export, and make sure that it says down here whether it's PNG or JPEG. I like PNGs a little better. Make sure I'm saving to the desktop, worksheet for test storyboards, and hit save. What I can do is take this PNG, send it over to my iPad, and open it up in Sketchbook, or a lot of us have Procreate. So go ahead and open it in Procreate. So what I'm gonna do is come in here and just create a bunch of boards for the storyboard. You can get as detailed with these storyboards as you want. If you are going to be working at a huge studio, you want to be as detailed as possible. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for people who can really draw expressions and body poses as fast as possible. After this, what I would do then is hit that top left button and hit share, and then take this and share it back to my computer. Once we have that PNG over to our computer, what we can do is go back to Storyboarder and do a file, import worksheet. And I'm going to go to my desktop and find my worksheet. There it is. I'm going to click open. It says import a worksheet. And now this is asking me to define the corners of the paper. This becomes handy because if you did print out your worksheet on paper, what you could do then is take a picture of your worksheet with your iPad or your iPhone, whatever device you might have, and then send that over to your computer. And if the angle is off just a little bit, selecting these four corners is actually going to straighten up the paper for you. Doing it my way, doing it where we created the PNG, that kind of saves us the struggle of taking a picture of it. We already had created the picture of it. Top left, I'm going to click, and you see that little red dot there. I'm going to click here for the top right, bottom right, and bottom left. And on this page, this becomes important just in case there's a shift in the paper, but it looks like my boards are pretty centered. So what I'm going to do is click import. However, if you did need to adjust these, you can come here and just do the offset, and you'll see how it shifted it to the right. Or if we wanted to go -50, it'll shift everything to the left. And that's one of the benefits of actually making a PNG. We don't have to worry too much about the offset. So now what's going to happen is Storyboarder is going to take our PNG and take each one of those boards and create a new board for our story. And it looks like it added them to the beginning. So I'm going to click on the first one, shift click on the last one that I just imported. I'm going to right click and then bring it on over to the end, and there are our storyboards. And again, if we wanted to refine these, all I have to do is command period, and it opens up Sketchbook. And that's a quick look at my $10 solution for script writing and storyboarding. We went from just scribbling down ideas to building those ideas up and putting them in place, and then taking that into a script writing software, and then taking the script and creating storyboards. We did the storyboards in Storyboarder, and then we used Sketchbook as our drawing application for importing into the storyboards. Once the storyboards are done, you can export that as a PDF, or you can even export it as a video. And then you can use that as the guide for when you go further on into filmmaking or even animation. This is a really good way to keep an eye on the shots that you need to create, whether it's drawing or using a camera. I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you know anyone else that's looking to get into animation, filmmaking, please send this video on over to them. And if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. That helps quite a bit. I hope this video finds you healthy, and I hope this video finds you safe, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.